I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Lenox Township Board of Trustees, Monday, February 3rd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of meeting agenda.
We need to make some amendments to the agenda. Under unfinished business, we need to remove letter A. And under new business, we are removing letter E. So I make a motion to remove letter A and then letter E, and then the agenda is approved.
I'll make a motion. I'll support that motion. I have a motion from Clerk Gurley, supported by the chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 6, 2025 Lenox Board of Trustees meeting.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Trustee Marino, supported by Trustee Rosile. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Public announcements. Public comment. All right, moving on to public hearing. 2025 Community Development Block Grant Funds. Chair will entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I make a motion to open the 2025 Community Development Block Grant Funds.
Second.
I have a motion by Trustee Rosile, supported by Clerk Gurley. This is supposed to be a roll call vote. May the Deputy Supervisor, in the absence of the Deputy Clerk, please call the roll call.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the motion made by?
It was made by Rosile, supported by Gurley.
Motion by Trustee Rosile, supported by Trustee Gurley, Clerk Gurley.
Clerk Gurley.
Excuse me. Reader?
You're supposed to.
I'm sorry, Marino.
Aye.
Rosile.
Aye.
Reader?
Aye.
Sutherland.
Aye.
And Gurley.
Aye.
Motion open.
All right, public hearing is open. Summary, Mr. Grebo.
Good evening, Board. Caught me off guard there just for a second. So this evening we are in front of you with the Community Development Block Grants. You do have a number of items in front of you with that. One of the key items for you is going to be one of your last pages. There has been a total of $4,800 that has been requested through the different programs. Lenox Township has a total of $1,400 to develop and distribute. As you see in your packet, there are a number of items that go through each year that we've done. Federal guidelines do require that maximum priority be given to activities which primarily benefit low, moderate income families or in which aid in the prevention of elimination of slums or blights. Citizens residing in blighted areas or persons of low and moderate income are encouraged to participate. We've asked those that were unable to present this evening to present early, which that is what you have in your packet. You do have a number of activities. The Armada Police Athletic League is requesting funding. The New Haven, sorry, we've got these attached. As you see in your packet, Hearts for Homes is requesting funding. Maggie's Wigs for Kids. Samaritan House, single-family living. Turning Point, the WAVE project. In addition to that will be the Lenox Township Seniors Program. Each one of them is requesting funding at your availability. As more requests are actually put in each year than is available, we do try to request that we hold some community funds back to the township itself for the senior program. So in your consideration, we would request that you consider that this evening. At this point in time, we'll open it up for any other presenters that may have came in this evening to present. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Griffin Groninger, and I am here representing Interfaith Volunteer Caregivers. We are a nonprofit based out of Roseville that works to help seniors and the disabled continue to live independently in their own homes by providing them a multitude of services. With the number of older adults in Macomb County rapidly increasing, the need for support services is growing dramatically due to the frailties of age, chronic health conditions, disabilities, and evolving family structures. Our organization has been providing free basic assistance to countless older and physically challenged adults for over 30 years, allowing them to remain safely in their homes. Services like transportation, chores, respite breaks, errands, and simply providing company are all made possible for our clients thanks to IVC's hundreds of amazing volunteers ready and willing to support this noble cause. Our volunteer opportunities provide fulfilling experiences for those who wish to volunteer, as well as support for those in need. The CDBG Safe at Home project of IVC is part of our larger chore and repair program for older and disabled adults, and was developed to provide additional chore and repair services in communities that allocate funding for this purpose. Safe at Home allows us to assist low to moderate income seniors and physically challenged adults with indoor and outdoor chores, minor home repairs, and routine housekeeping. We identify individuals who cannot do these tasks on their own and have limited resources, and prioritize those who need us most. We are requesting the CDBG funds to increase the number of low-income citizens we can reach to grow our program, as well as coordinate the volunteers who do these services. IVC provides almost 20,000 hours of help over all its services to nearly 500 people in need each year. With CDBG funding, we were able to complete 2,942 service hours in the 2024-2025 funding year, and we project even further growth this year. We are confident that the additional funding provided by CDBG will allow us to assist many more residents with this much-needed service. We've had a lot of great stories. We had somebody who had a tree fall in their yard, and we had volunteers out there for 12 hours. They didn't really need to be out there that long. They just kind of chose to help for that long and got it out of our yard. We had somebody repair a porch, so one of the clients was able to take his wheelchair-bound wife to the doctor. Other examples of help are tasks like replacing locks, washing windows, raking leaves, routine housekeeping, and installing smoke alarms. With the CDBG funding, this project can continue to grow, and assistance can be granted to a variety of lower income Lenox senior citizens and disabled adults. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. Any dollar amount granted is greatly appreciated, and we hope to continue to partner with you going forward. And if anybody here tonight knows of any seniors who might use our services and could use some assistance, or looking to give the gift of time as a volunteer, please let us know by calling our office at 586-757-5551 or going to www.ivcinfo.org. And is there any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
or anyone else from any other organizations? All right, moving on. Public comment on the public hearing? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing. I second it.
I have a motion by Clerk Gurley, supported by Treasurer Sutherland. May the Deputy Clerk please call the roll.
Gurley.
Aye.
Sutherland.
Aye.
Marino.
Aye.
Reader.
Aye.
Rossio.
Aye.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. All items listed under this consent agenda are considered routine by the Township Board and will be enacted by one motion. According to established Township meeting rules, there will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the Board or public so requests at or prior to the meeting. In which event, the chair of the meeting may remove such items from the consent agenda for discussion and consideration under agenda item number 8 below. Approval of the consent agenda shall be by a majority roll call vote of those present and voting.
The orders and bills for the month of January were in the amount of $536,773.94.
I motion to approve the consent agenda and the orders and bills in the amount of $536,773.94.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion by Treasurer Sutherland, supported by Trustee Rosio. May the Deputy Clerk please call the roll.
Sutherland.
Aye.
Rossio.
Aye.
Gurley.
Aye.
Reader.
Aye.
Marino.
Aye.
All right, item removed from consent agenda, EMS report, new EMS staff swearing in ceremony, Chief White.
Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, honored guests, and public. As EMS professionals, we regard ourselves as members of an important and time-honored profession. As such, we administer to our employees at the conclusion of their probation an oath. The purpose of this oath is to ensure our citizens that we will conduct ourselves in a manner that will be a credit to the township and the ambulance authority. Now I'd like to invite our employees to be sworn in to join me here at the podium, as well as family members who will be actually pinning on their badges. I invite paramedic Tanya Echout, EMT Lisa Esper, EMT Alexis Patton, EMT Catherine Crosby, and paramedic James Thompson. If you want to line up right here behind me, kind of thing, just facing the board that way, and your family members can stand with you. Jim? Catherine? Colleagues, I would now ask that you raise your right hand and answer "I do" to the following questions. I recognize at all times I am a public servant and that ultimately I am responsible for the safety and well-being of myself, my colleagues, and all of our citizens.
I do.
I will accept responsibility for my actions by exhibiting honesty and integrity.
I do.
I will promote diversity within our organization and ensure fair and open access to all who call for service.
I do.
I will observe the highest principles of fairness and strive to meet those values which reflect honor upon the township, the EMS, and myself.
I do.
I will seek to maintain and improve my professional knowledge, skills, and competence.
I do.
Now, do you swear to follow and uphold all department SOPs, county medical treatment protocols, state and federal laws, as well as the state of Michigan and U.S. Constitution?
I do.
Finally, do you affirm you will not permit or cause any employee or agent acting on your behalf to do anything which would constitute a violation of this oath?
I do.
Your family members have your badges. I would ask they pin them on at this time. Township Board members, and citizens at large. On behalf of the Richmond Lenox Township Ambulance Authority, it is my privilege to formally present to you these sworn professionals who I now attest are fully prepared to serve you and our citizens. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief White. Moving on to new business item A, 2025 Community Development Block Grant Fund CBG recommendation. If there's no discussion, I would like to make a motion to approve dispersing the 2025 Community Development Block Grant Funds to the following: Interface Volunteer Caregivers at $320, and the Lenox Township Senior Program for $1,080.
I'll second.
I have a motion by the chair, supported by Clerk Gurley. May the deputy clerk please call the roll.
Reader,
Aye.
Gurley,
Aye.
Rossio,
Aye.
Sutherland,
Aye.
Marino.
Aye.
All right, moving on to item B, ordinance waiver request, Motor City Electric Company. Mr. Cassidy.
We have a request tonight from Motor City Electric. They would like to put barbed wire on their existing fence, or the fence that's being installed. So for security purposes, it contains some of their electrical equipment, some of their supplies. We have granted this request in the past, most notably across the street, Semco, and I have no objection.
If there's no discussion from the board, a motion will be in order.
I motion to approve the ordinance waiver request for Motor City Electric Utilities Company on parcel 190627-200-024, allowing barbed wire fencing as presented on this parcel only.
Second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Sutherland, supported by Clerk Gurley. May the deputy clerk please call the roll.
Sutherland,
Aye.
Gurley,
Aye.
Marino,
Aye.
Rossio,
Aye.
Reader.
Aye. All right, moving on to item C, codified zoning ordinance proposal. Mr. Cassidy.
The Township Board, or some of the members may recall that in 2023, the Township codified all ordinance except the zoning ordinance. And what codification is, they're looked at, they're reorganized. Each part of the book is a different chapter that applies to a different ordinance. And then you kind of go back and forth and look and see how they relate to one another. You get rid of a lot of unnecessary information, and it's one contained book, and each chapter is numbered similar. So it's kind of a book of ordinances that the township can be really proud of. But what we held back was the zoning ordinance at that time, because it's the largest ordinance. It's over 180 pages. And we had the zoning ordinances we had was in a number of different sections, a lot of different amendments. We're talking 20 years of amendments, so it took well over a couple hundred hours to redo this zoning ordinance, and it was a lot of people that were involved over the last several years. What you have in front of you now is actually chapter 719 of the codified ordinance, which is for zoning. Like I said, every section was looked at to make sure it's consistent with other sections. So when it refers to another section, it refers to another ordinance that's consistent. There are a couple other changes that have been involved. Things like the Macomb County Road Division is now the Macomb County Department of Roads, so we made those changes. And things like the Department of Michigan Department of Environmental Quality is now the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. Those are kind of the things that we've changed. The only other thing that's been changed in this ordinance is, for simplicity's sake, for developers and for potential developers, some of our zoning districts were strangely called at best. We had something called industrial restricted and industrial controlled, and that's, you know, the nomenclature, the average nomenclature for planning and zoning districts is light industrial and heavy industrial. So we changed those names just to reflect what the standardization, reflect standardization. No provisions within the districts have been changed. Anybody that had a property on the zoning map, and we're not changing amending the zoning map, but anybody had a property that was called industrial, restricted is now called light industrial, so forth. So I'm recommending approval to the township board of the codified ordinance, again, which is chapter 719 of your code of ordinances.
Thank you. If there's no discussion from the board, the motion will be in order.
I have a question. Mr. Casson, last week at the planning commission meeting that I attended, the fourth item is at the request of the building department supervisor's office, regulations on storage containers have been added. And I believe it was tabled last week.
That was taken out of this copy of the version that's to review tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was taken out, it's not in what's being, this is an old email. If you
That was the email that went to the planning commission.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that has been taken out of here.
So you didn't send an email to the board apparently?
No.
So what we have in front of us is not accurate.
What you have in front of you is what was at the planning commission minus the containers.
I would have thought that we would have retyped it correctly to present to the board this evening.
That's it.
This says containers.
That was a memo I sent to the township clerk for the planning commission meeting.
Okay. So I guess I don't understand why we have this in our packet. We're not-
So the planning commission last week, they approved the numbering changes.
Correct.
That is what,
Heard that.
that is what we are voting on tonight.
Okay. But that's not what this paper says. Correct?
Correct. That is a memo from last week that was supposed to go to the planning commission.
Okay.
That memo did go to the planning commission. I sent it to Mrs. Gurley, who asked if she had permission to forward it to the planning commission, so they were aware what was on the agenda that night. That is not a memo, which was to show what was on this agenda.
Okay. I guess I still don't understand that we have the correct information in front of us.
I don't know where that came from, sir. I'm just responding to what you have in front of you.
I don't have that.
We don't have the vote in front of us.
How many pages is in your packet approximately?
580 pages.
Okay. We do not have it.
I believe an email did go out for flash drives.
The flash drives, yeah, their flash
Yeah, there
drives were given to them.
was a flash drive that,
Yeah, that contained the zoning. It was the same paper.
yeah.
Yeah, this is, like I said, what is before us tonight is just changing the number and
Yes.
agency names.
I guess, all I can read is what's in front of me tonight, and I don't know where we need to save paper. It's one of the least expensive things. I just think we should have the correct information to make a decision. I think everybody would agree that we don't have 587 pages. That's what Mr. Casson said.
You said 185?
180.
I just printed out a copy for you.
Yeah.
There's no printed copies. This was just mine. I can make notes on
Yeah,
it.
there was
It's
a
178
mailboxes.
The rest was on a USB to everybody. Did you get a USB?
Possibly, I didn't open it.
Did you get a USB?
Yes, and I did open it. And
Was it?
Everything was there, yeah.
Okay.
Did I? No.
No, because I have an actual, I have the zoning book. There's probably a USB.
Yeah, Joe, yours is in your mailbox. I think I saw it when I picked my stuff up.
A printed packet.
No.
No, it's a USB flash
Oh,
drive.
I did
Put it
not-
in your computer
No, I
and
did not get a flash
email
drive.
up the entire, zoning ordinance.
details on it either.
The reason why it was
I'm
put
sorry,
on,
Jennifer.
I didn't know either.
So I guess I'm
See
not
what
the
I'm
only
seeing.
one.
No, you're right.
Felt they were in the dark.
if there's no further discussion, a motion will be in order.
I motion to follow the planner Steve Cass's recommendation and approve the codification of the zoning ordinance with changes as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Sutherland, supported by Trustee Marino. May the Deputy Clerk please call the roll.
Sutherland,
Aye.
Marino,
Aye.
Rossio,
Nay.
Reader,
Aye.
Gurley.
Aye.
All right, moving on to item D, Township Employee Healthcare Proposal Recommendation. Mr. Grabo?
Good evening, Board. This is something we go through quite often. It's been on the process for quite a while. You guys did receive all of the books and the packets last month to give ample time to review through each one of the proposals. I'm not sure, I did not receive any calls, requests, or questions concerning this from anyone outside. After going through and reviewing all the opportunities and the items that are presented here in the packets that you see, one of them that stood out the most, and one of the groups that's on the list was Ascend Group. They have pulled, or not Ascend, yes, Ascend. That's not our current one.
No, our current is Blue Cross Blue Shield.
No. Right, Ascend actually made a call requesting to be removed from the consideration. So we are down to 2. And with those 2, we have very, very close comparison between America's Back Office and our current company. The numbers are close, the opportunities are there. At this point in time, this is almost a 50-50 draw on the 2. They are that close in their services. We have looked in the past to our current supplier to update and move us to an electronic version of opportunity for our staff to be able to be involved in and lessen the interactions of paper and manual inputs. America's Back Office comes in automatically with that. We do have a few options. We can give the board some additional time to review this, but we are really, truly out of time. After reviewing all of these opportunities and looking at this, like I said, we are almost dead set between the 2 of them. So the question is do we move forward and into a new program and a new tier? This will not change our staff's requirements for doctor changes and all of those items. It will change the way things are interacted. As we all know, there is nothing out there that has not went up. All the numbers are within these books and pamphlets that were given out. Do we see significant increases? We do. America's Back Office does have an opportunity for us to work towards increasing life insurance policies and giving some credibility to our staffing and our individuals that work throughout the township, including our first responders. That is one thing that we've looked at tremendously throughout the year, and our first responding group has a limited return, if you will. So one of the things we look forward to of being able to enhance that. Regretfully, if something happens on duty, on time, that is a limited return. As we look at the family members, and this evening we actually were able to see a number of first responders being sworn in. So we need to look at that across the board. Our fire personnel, our EMS, and EMS is under a different authority. So just let me clarify that. But our firefighting department, our staffing here, that is one thing that we did look at, and it did stand out on America's Back Office of enhancing the life insurance programs and the policies. The cost to the township is extremely minimum. Those will be an additional addendum that is brought in front of the board once those options are actually brought together. And they are looking at a significant increase of, and I hate to say death benefit, but if something happens in today's world, we all know how costly it is to pay the expenses of our loved ones. So that is a consideration. At this point in time, out of the supervisor's office, after reviewing all of this, the recommendation would be for the board to consider America's Back Office for moving forward, although we can maintain our position where we currently are. The numbers are that close. And for us to go through all of these numbers would tie us up the rest of the night. But when you're talking about the healthcare breakouts, the personal payouts, all of those items are that close in these numbers. Our staffing would not change. The healthcare would still continue to be Blue Cross Blue Shield as it currently is. That I'll open it up for any questions, comments, or the best that I can provide information, because I am just about as equal as you when it comes to reading the catalogs of books on this when it comes to healthcare.
If there's no discussion, a motion will be in order. I will make a motion to designate America's Back Office as the township's healthcare provider as detailed.
I'll second.
I have a motion by the chair, supported by trustee Brazil. May Deputy Clerk please call the roll.
Reader,
Aye.
Rossio,
Aye.
Gurley,
Aye.
Sutherland,
Aye.
Marino.
Aye.
All right, moving on to item F, Office Assistant Proposal. Mr. Grabo.
1 second. Good evening once again, board. This evening, the Township Supervisor's Office is coming forward with a request. We're requesting from the members of the board and the public, with an ever-increasing workload, we have looked at an opportunity to acquire a part-time position related to the supervisor's office, but actually supervised and fulfilling throughout the township. This is going to be within the township offices. We are requesting the hiring of Ryan Gurley as an office assistant on a part-time basis at the rate of $17 an hour. Mr. Gurley will report to the supervisor's office for day-to-day operations and be dispatched to other departments within the township offices based on the needs of the departments. I can tell you during the interim that we've had him underneath the intern program, Mr. Gurley has been an extremely valuable asset. One thing uniquely, we spend a fortune on just computer systems and operations. Just this alone and some of the setups and the additional helps supports some of the items he does for us, along with being able to fill into many of the departments. If we have someone out, someone sick, the request is only for 2 days a week at this point in time, with additional support as needed. If there's any questions or comments, be open for that.
The additional time, will that be just added on as random, or does that come before the board? I mean, you're saying that it's 2 days now,
So-
to increase it?
Yeah.
How was the process?
Let me make a comment and answer that. So let's say we have an issue with our rec program and we need coverage in the concession stand area. That may be something that we send him out to handle and take care of, if we cannot fulfill that through the program we already have. Those are simple, normal, day-to-day operational tasks. That's not something, and we really wouldn't have an opportune time to come back and call the board and say, hey, board, we got to have an emergency meeting. We need him for 3 hours. We're asking for that flexibility to cover those positions as needed. Just keep in mind that we do have a number of staff here throughout. Without getting into a lot of it, this particular part-time person would be able to fill in a number of department slots where we have people that may be out on a medical leave or a short-term or a long-term opportunity or disability. So that person would fill in a couple days a week, which would give us that flex and that gap. We wouldn't be asking, if we came back and we asked for this to be moved to a permanent flex position, then we would be coming back to the board saying, hey, you know what, this person retired or this person went out on long-term medical. So we would be coming back for that, Mr. Murphy.
Okay. It sounds good. I mean, it's a bargain at $17 an hour.
You are correct. This does give us a flexible opportunity.
Okay.
We do appreciate that review and that thought process, because in today's systems, and I will tell you, I mean, he's worked as an intern and flexibility, and let's face the facts, these young folks are quite quick with computers. You know, he's been very helpful, and I'll admit that myself. You know, we're not all specialists in those electronic things.
Is there setup for him for advancement?
Not at this point, Mr. Marino, but if there is a position that opens up, which would be posted in the, you know, that would allow, or let's say someone takes a retirement position, then that person would be allowed as a part-time employee. Considerations would be sought forthwith and allow them to apply. You are correct. And that would be the advancement position at that point. Or if he decided to transfer out and wanted full-time, if we had a full-time position, maybe at the DPW or something like that, that's a consideration in-house first. That is correct.
Okay.
I will need to recuse myself from the voting on this, please.
If there's no further discussion, I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Ryan Gurley as an office assistant, starting at $17 an hour, part-time, and reporting to the supervisor's office as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion by the chair, supported by trustee Rosile. May the deputy clerk please call the roll.
Reader,
Aye.
Rossio,
Aye.
Sutherland,
Aye.
Marino.
Aye.
All right, moving on to item G, SEMCOG alternate delegate appointment. Mr. Grabo.
Good evening, members of the board. This evening, Supervisor's Office is coming forward with a request. As you know, we are a member of SEMCOG, also a member of MTA. These are critical items that we work with within the community, and we get a number of items back that are enhanced. We get grants. There's just a untold volume of opportunities being part of this membership. This evening, the supervisor's office is requesting as an alternative delegate to the Southeastern Michigan Council that would need to be selected. Currently, the primary delegate for the township, which is the supervisor, Anthony Reeder, is requesting that the board appoint Treasurer Jennifer Sutherland as the alternate delegate to SEMCOG for Lenox Township. This is something that occurs primarily throughout the week, through the day. There are occasional, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on with SEMCOG. With that, I'll bring it back to the board for any questions, comments.
If there's no discussion, I will make a motion to approve Treasurer Jennifer Sutherland as the alternate delegate to the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by the chair, supported by Clerk Gurley. May the deputy clerk please call the roll.
Reader,
Aye.
Gurley,
Aye.
Marino,
Aye.
Rossio,
Aye.
Sutherland.
Aye.
All right, moving on to item H, Community Center Rental Agreement. Mr. Grabo.
All right, good evening, board. This evening you have a document in front of you. I did meet with Trustee Rossio earlier today. There are a few items that he brought forth. He did make a recommendation. As you read through this and take a look at these items, I do concur with his suggestion, and I think it's best said that as Mr. Rossio had explained, it would probably benefit the township to the positive side, that if we took this project back and brought it back to the board after we did some revisions, and I really truly appreciate the opportunity to sit down and go through with him, because he brought forth some interesting information that was seen from a second set of eyes, a third set of eyes, a fourth set of eyes. The business side. And there's some perspectives and some items that we needed to look at. And I do concur with those items that we can clean this up just a little bit, make it beneficial for the township. There are some questionable items. Mr. Rossio, if you want to, I know you took some notes earlier. There was a few items that you might want to be able to speak on, like times and so on.
Sure, I'd be happy to. When I read through the proposal for renting the hall, I think it's a great idea, but I think we need some real basic guidelines that are definitely spelled out. One was the capacity, and I think that falls on the fire department to decide the capacity.
I think that's the state fire marshal that decides that.
Whoever, but we need a capacity of what the hall will
Right.
safely. And then another thing was rental hours, how late we want to rent it, 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, midnight, 2 a.m. If somebody had a small wedding like that, we would have a guideline on hours that, because a township employee has to be there, is my understanding, when it's rented, so we got to think about, that too.
You're absolutely correct. The township employee must be present for the entire time that that building is occupied or being handled by residents or being engaged. There must be a requirement for the capacity. That building is in fact shared with the sheriff's department. So there is restrictions and lockout procedures that are in place already. So we do have that secured, but you are absolutely correct.
And the other thing was township insurance, if it's going to be covered under the same policy we have now, or if we have to get a rider for parties. And And there's a possibility, I understand, alcohol and sort of that as part of
You are correct. There is an opportunity for folks to request a beer and wine permit. So let me clarify the alcohol and the beer and wine. It's a night and day difference, but we generalize it as alcohol. The alcohol permit allows beer and wine, absolutely no hard spirits. But there is a request, and I think we also talked about an additional liability item from the renter of providing rental or liability insurance.
And if the board would like, I'd be happy to work with the supervisor's office, going over the guidelines, trying to put something together for next month's meeting.
I appreciate that. With that, I bring it back to the board for consideration to allow us to take the 30 days, rectify this, and re-present it to you as unfinished business.
I agree. I'll make a motion to table the community center rental agreement until things can be added and changed and looked over and possibly brought back to next month's meeting.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Clerk Gurley, supported by Trustee Marino. May the Deputy Clerk please call the roll.
Gurley,
Aye.
Marino,
Aye.
Sutherland,
Aye.
Reader,
Aye.
Rossio.
Aye.
All right, moving on to item I, 2025 Lenox New Haven fireworks cost share proposal. Mr. Grabo.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the item in front of you this evening. I know it's February, but the time marches by very, very quick. We have done for a number of years a cost share agreement with the Village of New Haven, and we've split the cost of an annual Lenox New Haven fireworks that occurs early in July. This year, the total cost of the fireworks show is a number of $12,000. You'll see the bill attached on the back. With that, the Lenox Township portion is $6,000. The request from the supervisor's office is to participate in the annual fireworks show with the Village of New Haven, requesting the approval of $6,000 for the annual fireworks program. Last year was-
Same amount.
It was $12,000.
It was the same last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple years ago. it went up.
A couple years ago, it was 10,000.
Yeah.
All of a
Yeah, I
sudden
think
it
it was
jumped.
22 it went up.
Right, it
Yeah.
jumped.
Do they have a date on this?
I believe it's actually right there in the quote,
It's July.
July 12th.
Yep. And it draws a
Oh, okay.
ton of
Massive
people.
amount of people.
Yeah.
And actually, I've been told by other communities that it's probably one of the best fireworks displays they've seen in the area.
Oh, it very much is.
Yeah.
I will tell you, one thing we watched very diligently, because of the fireworks show, we watched the attention and the draw of the drone show. And let me tell you, the response that we got on the drone show was absolutely phenomenal. That communication was all over the place. People spoke about that, the incredible production that was put on. I will tell you, watching the fireworks show, the Village of New Haven and the Township of Lenox collectively should be very proud of being able to put this together, because this is an absolute fabulous show for the residents. That, bring it back to the board for any other questions, comments, or consideration.
And if there's no discussion, I will make a motion to approve the cost share proposal with the Village of New Haven and contribute $6,000 of the $12,000 cost of the fireworks.
Second.
I have a motion by the chair, supported by Trustee Marino. May the Deputy Clerk please call the roll.
Reader,
Aye.
Marino,
Aye.
Gurley,
Aye.
Rossio,
Aye.
Sutherland.
Aye.
All right, moving on to item J, Michigan Township Association MTA Capital Conference request. Mr. Grabo?
All right, good evening. This is a request from the supervisor's office. The supervisor is requesting to attend the annual 2025 MTA Capital Conference being held in Lansing in March on the 4th. One of the main topics of the conference will be the new Earned Sick Time Act that is a mandated law, which will drastically change how sick time is earned throughout the state of Michigan. The request and cost for this conference is a total of $110. And if I remember reading this correctly, this is a one-day only,
Yeah, March 4th.
One day.
like in and out, no
Right.
hotels or anything. So this is really the cost of the conference itself. With that, we'll bring it back to the board for any questions, comments, or consideration for the supervisor to attend. I would almost recommend that you take one or the other. Especially Clerk Gurley, seeing she deals with the actual. Even though we picked a provider, she does deal with a lot of the staffing issues, and I think the ETO is going to be a critical item. I would almost request that the board consider allowing both of them to attend this, as this is quite unique at the changes that are coming through on the requirements. That this is definitely something new. And if we don't process it correctly, it's an issue. So with that, I'll bring it back for consideration. I'm sorry. Just as I read through this, it reminded me of the thoughts.
I'll motion to approve Supervisor Anthony Reeder to attend the 2025 MTA Capital Conference on March 4th, 2025 in Lansing, Michigan at the cost of $110 as proposed.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Treasurer Sutherland, supported by Trustee Rosile. May the Deputy Clerk please call the roll.
Sutherland,
Aye.
Rossio,
Aye.
Marino,
Aye.
Gurley,
Aye.
Reader.
Aye. All right, moving on to item 12, public comment.
I'm Linda Rossio, 25589 26 Mile Road. Just an observation. Over the last couple of years, I've seen where the board has voted or proposed assistance for different people, in the office here. Have you all ever thought about being open on Fridays, working an extra day a week, instead of all the different new employees? I mean, most businesses, Lenox is growing. It's, we hear how wonderful and how hard everybody is working, and you need help. Have you thought seriously about working 5 days a week?
All right, any further public comment? Going once. Moving on. Call from the board. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 14, closed session. Item A, Michigan Tax Tribunal legal representation request. The chair will entertain a motion to enter into closed session.
I make a motion that we go into closed session at 7:26 p.m.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Clerk Gurley, supported by Trustee Marino. May the Deputy Clerk please call the roll.
Gurley,
Aye.
Marino,
Aye.
Rossio,
Aye.
Reader,
Aye.
Sutherland.
Aye.
All right, we shall move into closed session.
I would like to make a motion that we go back in session at 7:50 PM.
Second.
I have a motion by Clerk Gurley, supported by Trustee Marino. May the Deputy Clerk please call the roll.
In a minute. Gurley,
Aye.
Marino,
Aye.
Reader,
Aye.
Rossio,
Aye.
Sutherland.
Aye.
7:50. I would like to make a motion that we move forward as recommended by the assessing office
I'll second.
and council.
Okay,
I
I'll second.
I have a motion by Clerk Gurley, supported by Trustee Marino. May the Deputy Clerk please call the roll.
Gurley,
Aye.
Marino,
Aye.
Sutherland,
Aye.
Rossio,
Aye.
Reader.
Aye. All right, moving on to adjournment.
I make a motion that we adjourn at 7:52 PM.
I second that.
I have a motion by Clerk Gurley, supported by Treasurer Sutherland. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. We are adjourned.